On August 6, 1945 at 8:15 a.m., the Boeing B-29 Enola Gay, as commanded by Colonel Paul Tibbets of the 509th Composite Group, released the first atomic bomb in combat, codenamed Little Boy, over the city of Hiroshima in Japan. The uranium device yielded around 15 kilotons of TNT equivalent, which translated to flattening about 5 square miles of the city almost instantaneously. 3 days later, at 11 o'clock on August the 9th, another B-29 named Boxcar, Bockcscar, flown by Major Charles Sweeney, dropped Fat Man, a 21 kiloton plutonium device, over the city of Nagasaki. And together, these two devices killed around 100,000 people, borderline instantly, with many more dying in the aftermath to follow. And around less than a week after the attacks, the Empire of Japan had totally capitulated and surrendered to the Allied powers, and the Second World War had ended. However, these missions proved one fact above all. The atomic bomb was the decisive weapon of this new age, and for now, only long-range bombers could deliver it. And as the Cold War began, this race was not just to build nuclear weapons, it was to build the payload delivery systems that would carry them to strike deep in the hearts of enemy combatant nations. From 1945 to 49, the U.S. held the world's only nuclear arsenal. And President Truman made it very clear that the United States would very readily use this advantage to defend the free world. In the famous Truman Doctrine speech in March of 47, Truman pledged to support nations resisting communism, which in turn meant that the communist threat was going to be met with nuclear retaliation, essentially. Now, to enforce this, the United States Air Force, which was also newly created in 1947, decides to develop a new sub-command group, I guess you could call it, within the structure called Strategic Air Command, SAC. So the famous General Curtis LeMay becomes the new head, or the first head of SAC. And he is nowadays people would call him a warmonger, and he certainly was very aggressive with his nuclear deterrent strategies, shall we say. But LeMay was heading SAC, and the U.S., they just kept developing and developing and developing long-range bombers. With the news that the Soviet Union had captured and reverse-engineered the B-29 into the Tupolev Tu-4, there was a strict need to improve upon the B-29's design because more or less, the Strategic Air Command, it had become borderline obsolete due to the Russians having an equivalent answer to it, being their copy. So, with that news hitting SAC's doors, they immediately kicked into high gear and began developing the Convair B-36 Peacemaker. Now, the Peacemaker was never really a overtly successful aircraft, but it did display again, number one, the United States is the world leader in long-range bombers, and it is truly an intercontinental bomber. Now, slightly different from the B-29, the B-29 did not have intercontinental range, but the B-36 Peacemaker certainly did. A 3,200-mile range from the B-29 was nothing compared to the 10,000-mile range the B-36 could stretch out to. I mean, that is truly a remarkable improvement in just pure range alone. And don't forget the bomb capacity too. You know, it's not like the bomb capacity dipped with the B-36. It improved upon the B-29. So here we have another example of the United States just staying ahead of the game before things go awry for them. And this is a trend that will follow both the Warsaw Pact and the Allied, like NATO powers during the Cold War. While the threat of the Tupolev Tu-4 bull was residing due to the B-36's introduction, there was also another issue arising too in the West, and that was the development of the Mikoyan Gorevich MiG-15. First flight was in December 1947, swept wing at nearly a 700 mile per hour top speed. It would obviously outclimb and outspeed and outdive out anything, any piston-driven propeller fighter on the planet. So, with the introduction of the MiG-15, almost every advantage that something like the B-29 or even the B-36 boasted were swiftly becoming not advantages. they they were diminishing very quickly because the jet engine's introduction into fighter aircraft swiftly altered the playing field in turn of the fighter. Now, fighters no fear of bombers necessarily. Bombers are slow and they presented a very large target for fighters with their cannons or machine guns. Although the introduction of the jet-based fighter severely deterred bombers, both prop-driven and even the early jet bombers, the introduction of further implements of the jet engine lead to a massive increase in technology available for bombers, and this in turn leads to a very fast and very capable bomber fleet, both wielded by the Soviet Union and her powers, along with the United States and her allies as well. I do want to get into further developments of bombers from both the West and the East during the Cold War, so stay tuned if you're interested in the B-47, B-52, M-50, M4, Tupolev 16. There's so many, I could keep naming them forever, but anyways, if you have any feedback for today's video, please feel free to leave a comment. This is a new channel. I'm trying to get things going here, and I do want to be as factually correct as possible. Although we didn't discuss any technical specifications today, I do want people to chime in if there is an inaccuracy that develops. Regardless, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you want to follow the journey we're going on with Cold War bombers, we have more content coming other than that, but Cold War bombers is the first thing we're going to do. If you want to follow the channel, feel free to subscribe. Anyways, thank you for your time. Have a good rest of your day.